Thursday, July 21st, 2016. Monaco 64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I'd like to talk about central banks today and why I think they're the biggest threat to prosperity and freedom. The Fed was created in 1913. It started operations in 1914. I know there were other central banks around already, but the Fed, was the biggest. And in the century that the Fed's been created, we've had two world wars, we've had massive inflation, massive economic crisis, and what we're told, by the powers that be and politicians and the intellectuals, the experts, is that, we need clever people to run our monetary system because they know best. And today, I watched the press conference of the ECB, and it's the reason I watch these, and the FOMC sometimes press conference and Bank of England, is that they might come out with some statements that might be pertinent to the market, but it's very frustrating to know that it's another case of like the powers that be thinking that they know best and that the market and the people out there don't know anything. They underestimate people. If central banks were such a great institution, why have we got all the crises happening every 8 years or so? Why have we got massive inflation? Why have we got massive bank failures? The Fed was created and was supposed to provide for an elastic currency to stop all the bank runs they had, like in 1907 and prior to that. They haven't stopped any of that. It's just a monopoly. And in a free market, modern indirect exchange economy, the most important commodity is actually money. And I do call it a commodity. That's what the Austrians call it. It's the most marketable commodity because what that means is that, people will accept money in exchange for any good anywhere in the world. And usually, when it has been for thousands of years, it's not fiat money, it's gold or silver. It could be Bitcoin as well. It should be up to individuals, free individuals, to decide what they want to use for money. I don't care if they want to use something that I don't particularly care to use. But historically, the best money that's fulfilled all the functions of money as a store of value, it's easily divisible, it's durable and easy to carry. Those properties have been the main reason why gold and silver have been money. And there's another property, which is it has to be rare. Money has to be rare. You can't just, if it's everywhere and it's abundant, it's not money because it's got little value in relationship to other goods. So fiat money and central banks, they've hijacked money, gold and silver, and they centralize the control of money. And it's the biggest threat to prosperity. And hopefully, it's only through people learning about it, knowing, that we can have a world without central banks, that we don't need to play their games. But that will take, time and education. Before central banks even happened, people just exchanged, their coins or, anything for goods and services and products. And people might argue, oh, but the 20th century, it's been the very prosperous. We've had central banks. They've been able to centralize credit and make it available to everyone. But I would argue, how do we know? Couldn't the majority of the world is dirt poor. It's only in Europe, North America, and some other countries where we live quite in a prosperous fashion. And who is it to say that it's despite central banks, we've had a very prosperous 20th and 21st century. Who's to say it wouldn't have been even better to have free markets and let the market decide what money they want to use, and do not allow governments to control money. Because right now what you've got a mixture of government and big banks controlling money. And the way they do it is that the government allows the banks, to make big profits by bailing them out and giving them, bailouts and saying, you've got our backs. And then the banks, they lend the money, to the governments. Why do you think interest rates are so low in Japan and in the US? Because they're keeping it artificially low for the governments so that, they keep playing their game. And the people who are suffering are everyone, distant from this system, which is more than 99% of the people. How can you explain that the most indebted countries in the world are paying, negative interest rates a lot of times? Or the US, the biggest debtor government in the world, is paying like under 2% for 10-year money. It doesn't make sense. So, yes, central banks, in my opinion, are really detrimental to prosperity. And the two other things that they create moral hazard for the banking system, because they always think, they've got our backs. And they create moral hazard also for the consumer, for individuals, because individuals think, banks, they know what they're doing, they know about money. And what that does is individuals don't want to learn about money, even though it's the most important, commodity that they need to have to, survive in a modern indirect exchange economy. So I would argue that if people were given freedom, to use whatever they want as money, we'd abolish the central banks. I would, bet that people would learn a lot more about money. And right now we've got moral hazard in the banking system, and the public, seems to be oblivious to the nature of money. So, and one of the reasons I'm making this video is because Mario Draghi was asked, should the European Commission or the government, European EU government, should they backstop the banks, especially in Italy? And he said, that's for the Commission to decide, but I think they should. That would be a good idea. So there you have it. More, bailout of these banks. I don't know if it's going to happen, but, in a free market, no central bank economy, there would be bank failures, but it would, it would be so decentralized, the system, that it wouldn't really destroy the whole financial system if one big bank failed, like, we had Lehman's in 2008, or we could have Deutsche Bank, in the present day. So, yeah, I think central banks are the biggest threat to prosperity. Let's hope, that people wake up and demand the abolition of this monopolistic system that only benefits the bankers and the politicians. So if you enjoy my video and my analysis and my views, please like, share, and subscribe. And take care. Bye.